Hello, everyone. I'm Tina van Leuven, your practical joy alchemist, and your host for the Joy Evolution Summit, where we have the pleasure of spending time with the most delightful joy beacons from around the world. And today, I am very happy to be spending time here with my dear friend Craig Urquhart, who's a world-renowned composer and pianist. Craig's passion for music began when he first saw Leonard Bernstein's Young People's Concerts on television. After looking up to the music legend for years, he had the great fortune of meeting the maestro in person and eventually took a position as his assistant. This sparked a close musical relationship which influenced Craig's work and encouraged him to write music from the heart. Craig's compositions are not written to simply fill the page with notes. They are carefully constructed to deliver a rich experience to the listener. Claiming a space completely separate from the New Age genre, the classically trained composer and performer delivers fine-tuned elegance crafted with minute attention to every detail. In the words of the late Bernstein himself, Craig's music has a deceptive simplicity and honesty that is rarely to be heard in contemporary songwriting. Craig's music can be found in a wide variety of productions. His music was featured on the soundtrack for the 2010 Berlinale Teddy Award-winning film Postcards to Daddy. Craig also contributed the first movement of a secular requiem based on the words of poet Jackie Kay, commissioned for World AIDS Day to benefit Mission Malawi, The Moon, My Man and I. The Halle Orchestra and Chorus premiered this work conducted by Sir Mark Elder. In addition to his film scores and piano solos, Craig has written numerous art songs, music set to the lyrical work of great poets. His album Secret and Divine Signs with tenor Michael Slattery received significant praise, including the 5-star ratings from the BBC Music Magazine and FM Classic Music Magazine. Through his art songs, he has collaborated with a wide range of vocalists, including world-renowned tenor Thomas Hampson. Craig recently completed his 11th album called Affirmation. And in addition, Craig continues to work on behalf of the Maestro's legacy as a senior consultant to the Leonard Bernstein office. His recent composition, Remembering Lenny, paid tribute to his dear friend and mentor. The composition received wide praise, with Adam Gopnik of the New Yorker writing, "When we listen to a piece as beautiful as Craig Urquhart's Remembering Lenny, what we hear is the musical articulation of Bernstein's deepest values." Craig resides in Berlin, Germany, but travels regularly to performances across the world. It's such a joy to be here today with you, Craig. We're going to talk about your journey to joy and the healing power of music to create harmony and joy. Welcome, welcome.
Well, it's wonderful to be here. Lovely to see you. You're looking radiant.
Thank you, dear. Oh, you know, it's such a joy to spend time with you, and your music is so beautiful. For our audience, if they're not familiar with it yet, they're in for a treat when they're going to get a taste of this. And I'd love for you to share a bit. Our conversations have all been about everyone's journey to joy, and what is it like to embody joy, not just to know about it, but to in your head, but to take it into your body. What has that journey been like for you to get to this place where you really are living from joy and creating from that space?
Well, I have to let's go right to the music. And, when I'm writing music and playing music, I have a whole different feeling in my body. And it's one of true connectedness to something beyond me, something I would say more spiritual, And that is always a point of incredible joy for me. My music may be melancholy, it may be happy, it may be fast, it may be slow, but there's a sense of connectedness. And that's where I feel the joy, is that when I'm making music and creating music, there's a type of joy that sometimes is very scary to me, but it's also very uplifting and happy making, So.
That's interesting. You say, so what is it about it that you experience the joy at times that you say that feels scary?
I think, like many people, being connected is probably one of the scariest moments that you have, because you're out of body. You're experiencing something that isn't the norm, but it should be the norm. And that's why I like to make music, because it's a constant reminder to me that that is the reality, not all this craziness around me, that we experience on a day-to-day basis. It's the inner joy, the inner peace, that is the reality.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel when I'm making music. And when I'm studying other composers like Schubert or Beethoven or something, it's just amazing to me the amount of creativity that you can get from 88 notes. And I've written over 150 pieces of solo piano music, and it just keeps coming. And it's still just 88 notes, that we get to work with. And there's an infinite variety of expressions that come from that. And that also represents the infinite in myself, because it continues to come.
Beautiful. I love that. And one of the things I know that people who experience your music will often express exactly what you were just saying, that they can feel that joy, and that for so many it has brought a sense of harmony and peace in times where there's so much turbulence going on in the world. So how beautiful to be able to transmit that through the music that you create, huh?
It's amazing. I love to touch people, and it's, music is something that people always turn to. We have music about heartbreak. We have music about loss. We have music about happiness. We have music about love. But it's something that people always turn to. It's a language without words. And it's an emotional language that people can relate to. I mean, we have songs and everything with words, but it's the underlying music that creates the mood of those songs. And it's important that people have this solace to turn to. And I know some of my music is sad, some of my music is happy, but it touches people in various ways, and it brings joy to them or solace. And this is an incredible ability to have and to share. Yeah. And that makes me happy.
Yeah, I love that. So how old were you when you first saw Leonard Bernstein?
First time I saw him was the very first Young People's concert that aired in 1957. I was 4.
Oh, isn't that just awesome? I love that. It's like, well, you saw that young, and then to end up working with him, and it's like a preview of life's coming attractions, huh?
Who knew? Yeah, exactly. But I was, when I'm not alone. But I mean, there's a whole generation of people that saw these concerts, but I was 4, and I was sitting there and just totally swept in his charisma, his ease of sharing the knowledge, and the not talking down to children. There were young people's concerts, but there was nothing kiddie about them. I felt like he was treating us, or me as the viewer, as an entity that deserved respect. And I think that was the secret of those concerts, and that's why they still resonate to this day, even though they're in black and white and look old. But the sense of legitimacy for the viewer was important. And it was amazing, and it was great. And that's how I got into music.
Beautiful. How old were you when you started playing piano?
About 5.
That's so sweet.
But I actually started composing before I started playing, because I discovered the black keys, which it's a pentatonic scale, and it sounds Chinese, it has that Oriental, that Chinese tonality. And so I just decided to write a film score for The Good Earth.
I love it.
Precocious little child I was, yes. Yeah. And then because we had a piano in the house, and I loved that, and then my parents decided that I should since I was showing so much interest in it, then I should start studying it. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, wow, isn't it beautiful how you were inspired at such a young age by someone to then work with them now to realize that you are being that inspiration in the world for many people.
It's true. I hadn't thought of it that way, but it is pretty amazing. And it's so gratifying for me because I have fans from all over the world. And when I say all over, I mean, I have fans in Myanmar and Mongolia and Argentina and places I didn't even know my music was reaching. And, when you put it out on the radio waves, it's not only going out around the world, it's going out in the universe. So who knows who's on the receiving end out there. And, and I'd rather have my music out in the universe than other people's energy.
Noise.
Noise. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really gratifying to know that my music is reaching so many people. And I know that they're also sharing it. So it's got this ripple effect. And so it's wonderful. And it's gratifying to me. And it brings joy to me to know that I'm able to communicate my most intimate thoughts and feelings and that they reach other people also.
Yeah.
And they can share in that. Yeah.
Really beautiful. So, Craig, I'm just curious. We know what lights you up, but what zaps your joy?
I would say greed, denial, selfishness, irresponsibility. These are the things that really they make me upset and angry when I see people who only think of themselves and don't feel a responsibility to the whole, the general global consciousness, who put profit before responsibility. These are the things that zap my joy. And it's very makes me very sad when I think about what we do to this planet and how we don't take care of the thing that takes care of us. And this zaps my joy. And it's very frustrating to see people in power who are supposed to be working with us or for us doing everything that they possibly can against us. And this zaps my joy. Yeah.
So then on the flip side of that, because oftentimes I think for our audiences who are listening, I'm sure many can relate to what you're sharing. Being okay with feeling those things, but then realizing, okay, what sparks your joy? What really lights you up?
Well, we could look at just the reverse of all of those things, where people, joy is, responsibility, giving, loving, taking care, appreciating, and being grateful for everything that is given to us. And I mean, it's an amazing planet we live on. And I just got back from Scotland, and just such a beautiful country. Everywhere you look is just beauty. And, this is what makes me happy. I mean, nature and just the miraculousness of it, of our bodies, of our thought processes, of a tree, of a single tulip is just amazing. And these are the kind of things that bring me joy and light my fire, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that.
And inspire me. This is inspiration. It's all around us. And I feel like if I can tap into that inspiration and let the noise subside, then I'm a better person and I feel joy. Yeah. And there are times when when you're looking at nature, sometimes I remember one time I was out west and I just turned the car, we turned the corner, and I started crying because it was so overwhelmingly beautiful.
Yeah.
And you just feel the connection and the power of infinite creation. And we tend to take it for granted, and it's not something to be taken for granted or abused.
That is just so beautiful. And, I love how your last album, or your latest album, Affirmation, is really all about that, affirming the beauty in life and the love and all there is to celebrate. And I love all your music. I think the difference, even feeling between Calm Seas, the one before this, and now Affirmation, I can really feel and lightness, like there's more light coming through the music. So I'd love for you to share with our audience, what is it that happened between Calm Seas and Affirmation that our audience can pick up on when they listen to your music?
Well, I made some major life changes, and I got on with doing things that felt resonant to me. I'd been living in New York for 43 years, and that city wasn't working for me anymore. So I moved to Berlin, and I feel very at ease here. And that was part of the Calm Seas idea, and then I fell in love and got married, and we moved into a beautiful apartment, one that I never dreamed of, but it was a vision that I had. We both had exactly what we wanted, and we found exactly what we wanted. And it's an amazing place to be, and moved my piano from New York here, and it's much happier here. There's a lot less noise. Yeah. And it was a good thing to do. And that's, the album is about love, about weddings and marriage and happiness. And there are two pieces about loss. One is called Friendship, because a very close friend of mine passed away. But Friendship is not a sad piece. It's a very happy, uplifting piece, because it was a really wonderful friend, and I was grateful that that person was in my life for a very long time. And then the other one is Remembering Lenny. And, he turned 100 last year, and this is a piece that I was part of a project of composers getting together, writing pieces in memory of Bernstein. And so I wrote Remembering Lenny, and it's a very intimate, very beautiful portrayal of how I felt about him. And that's great. And then, there's golden fields and celebration and, just affirmation and unity. These are all very positive statements. And and then there's, and that's longing, and is another piece, and passion is another piece on that album. And it sort of covers a nice arc.
Yeah. Beautiful. For our audience, I invite you we'll place the link below the video so you can check it out, and make sure you check out Craig on Spotify, because his music, really, it's so soothing. And I think especially because, music impacts us so deeply, and especially when there is no words or lyrics to it, to just let the energy of the music come through can be so powerful. And I think Affirmation really brings that through, all those qualities that you were just describing, which just ties in so beautifully with being on this journey of embodying joy, that there are moments of celebration, and there are moments of loss, and there are moments of cherishing what was, but feeling the joy in all of it, to be okay with what you're experiencing, is just so beautiful. Yeah, gorgeous.
Well, I think it's also very important to understand that you can bring joy into sadness. That sadness can bring joy to you also. I mean, as I mentioned, one of the songs on my album is called Friendship. This is a song I wrote for a friend of mine who passed away in October. And of course, it's a sad event, but having that person in my life for so long was such a joyful experience that even in the sadness, there is a joy. And I think sadness can be a way to find joy also, because it's the sadness is loss of something that must have been really remarkably happy for you.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. And I think that's something, a theme that has occurred throughout our conversations, is realizing that many people think that it's either joy or sadness or whatever, but you can have both. So I think that's beautiful how you describe that. Looking back at your life, all that you've experienced now, is there a particularly challenging time where you wish that you would have known or received or experienced more joy?
Oh, I think one of the most difficult times in my life was after Bernstein died. And I had no concept of how deep the grief really was. And no matter who was around me or whatever, I never could find the support or the understanding of how I was feeling. And I really had to search myself and, deal with it pretty much on my own, even though I wasn't the only person feeling that incredible loss. But I think he touched so many people and so many of us. I was very close to Bernstein, and he was such a light. And when that light went off, it was a real black period for me. And it, I was almost living in an alternative reality. And it took it's still a void that will always be missed. But, I can look back now and see, he's still with us in many ways because he lives through his music. And, that's one thing that a friend of mine said, Craig, you're creating something that will live beyond you and you've made an impact. And that was a very important thing to hear. You may know these things, but to hear somebody articulate that. And after he passed away, it took a long time to find an even keel again, so maybe not until Calm Seas, who knows?
Yeah.
But there were many albums in between there. There was Secret Spaces, there was Within Memory, First Light, so Streamwalker, but, but, now I feel calm, I feel joyful, I feel connected again. And I feel like the reason I've maintained and where I'm at is that I've always remained connected to my music making. And I believe that music, as I've been saying, does have the power to heal, does have the power to bring people together. And it's all about harmony. And music is about harmony and making the world a harmonious place to be.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's exactly so, the healing power of music to create harmony and joy. Do you find that through certain phases, when whatever things are going on in the world, there's so much craziness happening out there, that certain pieces are resonating more deeply with your fan base?
It's interesting for me because my fans, I usually identify what they've been listening to. And there's not one piece that is the most popular. I mean, there is one piece that gets played a lot, and it's called Contemplation. And that's a very thoughtful piece, and it must resonate for people because it gets lots and lots of spins. But generally, it's across the board. There's no one piece resonates with somebody and another resonates with another. And it's all very gratifying. So.
So when we're speaking about how your music has the power to heal and to create harmony and joy, what have been some of the most moving messages that you have received that reflect this back to you? Because I think it's so easy when you're creating, it comes so naturally to you that you take it for granted, possibly, how beautiful your music is, how deeply it can touch people. So that when people then actually reflect it back to you, it's like, whoa, you know?
Yeah, it's, some people share very intimate details. They say, I lost a friend and your music is the only thing that's been keeping me, moving forward. And that is pretty amazing, powerful to hear, or a lot of, often I get that, that it's been my music has been a grounding force for people, and it brings them into a space of safety and honesty, that they feel that they can actually go through that, whatever they're going through. And that's very gratifying. And I often get just comments like very beautiful, very touching, just very soothing. And those are very important comments to hear, and I'm very glad when people share those with me and take the time to share with me. That's another thing. People's time is precious. So if they're making the effort to reach out and tell me these things, then it is reaching them in a very important way.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Because they don't have to. They don't have to share, but they feel the need to. So that is very gratifying to me.
Yeah, beautiful. So I'm just curious, do you have a favorite piece of your own?
Oh, that's like asking who's my favorite child. That's really a tough one. Yeah. Because, I've written so many, and sometimes, it's so funny. I was in a car recently and the radio was on, and I said, God, I really like that piece of music. And Sasha, my husband, says, oh, that's yours.
That's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
That's funny.
Funny, it is funny. Yeah. So, but there's one piece which I've always loved, and it's called "The Wonder of Miracles."
That's my favorite.
No, is it? Okay, yeah. So, and I just, it sums it all up. The wonder of miracles. But it's one of my favorites, but I have all of them are my favorites. So
yeah, they're all beautiful. But yeah, that's so gorgeous. Wow. Well, we're coming to the end of our time here together. There's so much more I'm sure we could talk about. Just gosh, I think that music can express what we can often not put into words, and you have a way of being able to do that. And as you say, by messages that you receive, I love how the essence of what you're sharing with the world, really that connection with nature and beauty, and bringing us back into that space of being real appreciation of what an amazing place we live in. And when we take time to slow down, I'm not surprised that contemplation is really popular, because that's part of like really taking time to contemplate what matters in life. When we take time to do that, slow down for a moment, that creates harmony and joy. So what a blessing that you are able to express your brilliance and your joy in the world in this way, to touch so many people, and that it's a legacy that will live on for as long as music is around on the planet. Beautiful.
It's really wonderful.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you would like to share, just to parting words for our audience here, speaking of joy?
Well, it's been a joy to be talking with you today, and that is a very wonderful experience for me to be able to share with you and with the others who will be listening a little bit of myself, my personality, and my dedication
Mm.
to making the world a better place.
Beautiful. Thank you, Craig. Such a joy to
Hmm.
spend time with you.
Yeah,
And
likewise. Yeah.
yeah, and I just want to share with our audience, if you're not already participating in our private Facebook group in the Practical Joy Experiment, we invite you to come and join us there. And maybe something that Craig shared here with you today really sparked something in you that you go, wow, I want to bring this into my life. And it could maybe be that you find a piece of his music that really, really touches you deeply, and that you bring that into your life, let's say for the next whatever period of time, that you give yourself the gift of receiving that quiet time to let yourself receive the beauty of that music and start noticing how that lifts your spirits and how that can create harmony and joy in your life. This is the magic of listening to these delicious conversations and then putting it into action so as to embody it. So thank you once again, Craig, for taking the time to be here with us, to share your beautiful light, your joy, your music with us. And until we meet again, many joyful blessings. And for everyone listening, joining us here, if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to share it with your friends. And we'll see you inside the Practical Joy Experiment. Go forth, let joy be your guide to a life that is worth waking up for every day.